The chairman is accurate.
Independent stakeholders to appraise the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR since his ascension to the presidency on May 29, 2023. As a body of policy analysts, we have painstakingly studied and analyzed the prevailing situation in the country over the last 8 months, and we are glad to inform Nigerians of our findings. As President Tinubu came into office in the midst of the lingering effects of post-COVID-19 challenges and a global economic downturn exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine crisis. In response, the president took and deployed policies and related measures that, in the circumstances, should be described as proactive and courageous in confronting the major social, political, security, and economic issues affecting the nation. First of such policy was the removal of fuel subsidy and its aftermath. On his first day in office, the president rightly acknowledged that the fuel subsidy regime was an albatross on the nation's economy, with debilitating impact on its sustainability and, by extension, a threat to the quality of life of the generality of Nigerians, if a decisive policy statement was not immediately made and enforced. While taking cognizance of the associated economic challenges that households are grappling with, it is our considered opinion that the decision by the president to announce the removal of fuel subsidy is not only courageous but commendable. Most important, it was a measure to eliminate the long-standing subsidy-related corruption perpetrated by the cartel of the subsidy regime. From a policy impact point of view, the measure triggered the immediate positive outturn on premium motor spirits consumption, and related revenue earnings compared to the pre-subsidy removal regime. Distinguished members of the media, you can all attest to the fact that just about a month after the announcement of the removal of the fuel subsidy, national daily fuel consumption fell dramatically from an unexplainable 66.7 million liters a day as of May 2023 to 45 million liters. That was just a month after. The consumption size has further reduced and now stabilized at 43.3 million liters a day. This steep reduction has led to a quantum leap in total gross revenue going into the Federation account and subsequent FAC allocation to the three tiers of government from 786.161 billion in May 2023 to a high of 1.1 trillion in August, because NNPC Limited was no longer resorting to its famed under-recovery. And for the first time in the history of FAC, the federal government of Nigeria started cultivating the culture of saving from revenue accruers, beginning from the over 700 billion that was saved in July last year, when the FAC received the sum of 1.959 trillion naira. This has marked a turning point in Federation accruers and revenue generation, with implication for budget performance. 2, transportation. On transportation, we have reviewed the sequence of policy deployments in the aftermath of the fuel subsidy withdrawal and consider the measure taken by the president as reflective of compassion, insightfulness, and vision. Some of the measures taken to cushion the impact of fuel subsidy removal on Nigerians are the wage awards to workers and the commitment of federal government intervention in ameliorating the cost of transportation during season peaks period. A more profound measure in this regard is the activation of the long dormant National Gas Master Plan, which effectively provides momentum for the commercial use of natural and liquefied gas. By our reading of the President's plan has been implemented in the sector. 4 compressed natural gas-based vehicle assembly plants are already being built across the country, which will in the first instance produce 750 buses and thousands of tricycles, while 100 electric buses are on their way into the country to consolidate what we describe as the Tinubu transport palliative intervention. In connection with this, we can also confirm that CNG vehicle service centers with refilling facilities are being built across the country. The multiplier effect of these will include technology adaptation, cheaper transport, job creation, enablement of commercial utilization of natural gas, and an environment-friendly energy use in alignment with environmental sustainability. In the light of effort to ameliorate the transportation cost burden on Nigerians during the last Christmas period, we all recall how the President introduced an intervention to reduce public transportation costs by 50% on selected routes nationwide, as well as a free rail transport initiative across the country. We consider this a true exemplification of emotional intelligence by the President Tinubu administration and a show of connection to everyday existence of the average Nigerian. Similarly, we have conducted a performance audit of the implementation status of railway projects in the country as part of properly situating the intermodal transportation system that should facilitate cheaper and easy spatial connectivity within the Nigerian geographical space. We can authoritatively report that in addition to the popular Abuja, Kaduna, and Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge routes, laying of tracks has been completed on the Port Harcourt-Abia axis of the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri strategic narrow rail route. And from all indications, rail services are set to commence on that route shortly. Also, the Lagos-Kano narrow gauge express service will be operational soon. Related to this, distinguished members of the press, our investigation shows that work is ongoing simultaneously in the Kaduna to Kano and the Kano to Maradi rail projects. This is indicative of a developing scenario of a truly intermodal transportation system as required in any country with a claim to driving growth and development. Concern over food inflation and its remedies, an issue that is of importance to virtually all of us. As part of our evaluation of the nation's economy under the present administration, we reviewed the national inflation rates, especially the food inflation, the latest of which the National Bureau of Statistics reported to be at 33.93% for December 2023. This rate should naturally exert concerns. However, our findings have shown a commitment by the President to stemming the tide of rising food prices and ensuring food security by approving the accelerated cultivation of 500,000 hectares of land across the country in collaboration with state governments. To our mind, this in itself is a commendable model of cooperation between the federal government and the sub-national. We are certain that in a short while, Nigerians will start receiving the products of the federal and sub-national governments working together. To crystallize the policy, the administration has introduced irrigation program to facilitate and guarantee all year-round farming. Our investigation within the general purview of agriculture implicates the deployment of several policies, including waivers on the importation of tractors and farm implements, the recent launch of dry season farming in Jigawa State, and the allocation of 102 billion to the National Agricultural Development Fund, NAD Fund, to mention just a few. It is our view that these measures will guarantee adequate food supply in the shortest possible time. Domestication of the production of pharmaceutical products. In relation to evaluating the quality of life and mortality rates of Nigerians, we note specifically the recent astronomical rise in the price of drugs and the acknowledgement of same concern by the Federal Executive Council, whereupon the President directed the Minister of Health to organize local pharmaceutical companies to access government financial aid and structural support to boost their capacity to produce cheaper and affordable drugs locally. This is also in addition to the decision to make the importation of raw materials for the production of pharmaceutical products duty-free to facilitate backward integration locally. When reviewed together, we consider this a hands-on approach to governance by President Tinubu. The fruits of this pharmaceutical productivity intervention will go a long way to assuage access to, thereby as enhancing quality of life in the country. Resolving perennial conflicts in tertiary institutions. In view of the historical records of conflict between the government and academic unions of tertiary institutions, which often lead to disruptions in academic calendar, we have evaluated policies put in place by the administration within a few months in office to address the situation. These include an interest-free student loan scheme recently expanded to cover vocational skill development. Also linked to this is the approval to disburse the highest ever allocation of infrastructure development fund of 643.3 billion to tertiary institutions in the country. This is in addition to the removal of tertiary institutions from the integrated payroll and personnel information system, IPPIS, as advocated over time by academic staff unions of tertiary institutions. For us, this is a major concession to the persistent demand by the unions, which all substantially stabilize and enhance the development of qualitative tertiary education. This represents the use of policies as a mediatory tool. Insecurity and the non-kinetic intervention. On security, we note with special interest the approval of 50 billion for the establishment of the Paku Initiative, a non-kinetic approach to tackling insecurity, which emphasizes the provision of social amenities like schools, hospitals, housing, and sanitary facilities in the 7 pilot states of Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, Kaduna, Benue, Katsina, and Niger. This, in our view, is a creative and pragmatic intervention that will most likely change the narratives around insecurity in the country. What we are saying essentially is that government presence will not be felt in those areas hitherto considered as non-governed area before now. Guaranteed completion of roads and other infrastructure. We note also the conscious policy to deliver more roads across the country, as exemplified in the recent approval of funds for the construction of the second Niger Bridge bypass, completion of the Lagos-Ibadan highway, the Lafia bypass, dualization of Makodi-Otukpo Night Mile Road, and sections of Abuja-Kaduna-Zaria Expressway. This is aside the presidential approval for the rehabilitation and construction of 1,925 roads and highways across the country. We are convinced that under the current fiscal regime, these projects would be completed to time and shall have positive effect on the socio-economic development of the country. The Forex Resolution Game Plan. We have also reviewed policy applications by the federal government and the central bank, working together in the management of our foreign exchange, and we are encouraged that the policy outcomes of this collaboration would address the supply side of our forex in the context of the current floating regime, with expected consequential effect on the value of the naira. To this end, we put in context the affirmation by the CBN governor, Mr. Oluyemi Cardoso, that the naira is undervalued. We agree with him. We agree with this position, especially in the light of the purchasing power parity of the naira vis-a-vis the dollar. In connection with this, we also note the impressive returns of the Nigerian Stock Exchange since June 2023, when the harmonization of the forex window was formally announced. Currently, the Nigerian stock market takes a pride of place as the #1 stock exchange globally. Principally driven by domestic investors, which, as at 2023, accounted for 88.52% of total market value. This is a confirmation of the existence of conducive environment for foreign investors to invest across the Nigerian investment ecosystem. Respect of rule of law for good governance. As a corollary to the assurances of good governance, we have noted comments by several beneficiaries of recent rulings by the Supreme Court. Most of them clearly indicated the manifestation of an independent judiciary in the Tinubu administration, which we believe is an affirmation of the entrenchment of democratic culture and values. Actionable policy on corruption. Perhaps the most significant policy position in all this will be one that broadly and dimensionally addresses corruption in the country. Corruption is a disincentive to foreign investment, especially of the kind we are so desirous to have in Nigeria at this time. However, we take notice of the President's swift response to corruption allegation against a member of his cabinet, Dr. Betta Edu, by suspending and ordering our investigation. Without prejudice to the outcome of the ongoing investigation, we urge the President not to bow to pressure, but ensure that the report of that investigation and those of other government officials under investigation be made public in the spirit of transparency. These will go a long way to sending clear signals to local and international audiences about the Tinubu administration's seriousness to tackle the scourge of corruption, as recently observed by the U.S. Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, during a recent visit to Nigeria. Our conclusion: from our review of President Tinubu's policies in the last 8 months, we can objectively submit that the administration has performed creditably well, despite the enormous institutional, economic headwinds and domestic challenges it has had to contend with. From the conceptualization and deployment of policies across multifarious sectors by the federal government, we are convinced that President Tinubu is putting in place new building blocks to serve as the bedrock of a new model for national economic growth and socio-political development. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. I can also tell you that by research outcomes, Nigeria is not an import-dependent economy. Please, you can Google. There is a natural tendency for us to generalize, but studies have been undertaken to show that yes, we import most of our raw materials for our, for our industries. But it is not, when you even compared to other jurisdictions, we do not depend so much on imports. Secondly, I don't want to agree. Yes, I agree that even what we import, the floating of the naira would impact it, even what we import. I just want to correct that opinion on dependency. Even the little we import, when you float the naira, it means that you are trying to discover appropriate pricing for the rate of exchange between the naira or any other convertible currency. That is just the meaning of floating. And in doing that, what you have also done is to jettison the subsidy with which we have been subsidizing the naira. And that has other kind of effect on Nigerians because we are not living to our reality. And that is why most policies that the federal government, or especially the CBN, most policies that they introduce in the public space do not have effect because we are not running a structural-oriented economy. So even where, for instance, the monetary authorities continue to increase interest rates so as to tame inflation, we are through the open door of, for instance, fuel subsidy. Through the open door of, for instance, subsidization of the foreign exchange, putting more money into the space that are considered as errant money in the system. So there is no way you are the mopping up of the extra liquidity in the system becomes a challenge, and it will not reflect on the objective of the CBN to achieve that in the first instance. So for me, I think for us as a policy group, what the CBN governor is doing is appropriate. Do we need to continue to subsidize the naira? No. In the short run, will things be difficult? Yes. But in the medium to long run, would we be able to discover the appropriate pricing for exchange rates for naira and other convertible currency? Yes. Would it reflect on the standard of living of Nigerians? Yes. And of course, in the short run, is there a need for government to intervene? Yes. And what the government is doing now, as far as we are concerned, is appropriate because the government had not abandoned Nigerians to their fate. And that is why we are having this palliative thing. On agriculture, you talked about nexus between security and food shortage. Yes, I agree. We know our food basket states in Nigeria, especially in the central northern region. And we know what insecurity issues had engaged those areas. But again, in this statement, we talk about the Polaco. We have had, over the last 5 years, 8 years, we have had situations where the federal government had been fixated, on providing equipment, enhancing the morality of security agencies and all that. But we all agree, anybody who understood anything around security, agree that where we have had a preponderance of insecurity issues have been areas without the presence of governments. what is called the ungoverned space. And now we have just talked about Paku Initiative. The Paku Initiative is principally talking to providing social amenities in those ungoverned spaces and allowing the presence, enabling the presence of government in those spaces. And in so doing, you start tightening the relationship between that space and governance. And to a large extent, once you have such activities, you also have the presence of security agencies. At the time, before we started having this challenge, you can have up to 100 square kilometers of road, without the presence of one security agent. And the criminals amongst us saw this opportunity and started exploiting it. We are just now responding to it, and I believe with the Paku Initiative, this should be contained to a large extent. Statistics on PMS. All right, I think it is not as if we are debating the statistics on the big PMS. But if we are talking about subsidy removal, that is an immediate impact of subsidy removal. We, at a point in time, we could not even as a country determine the quantity of fuel, of PMS we consumed every day. And we were always coming up with suspicion around figures that was made available to us by the NNPC Limited. But now we can say for certain that within the first month of the removal of fuel subsidy, it fell from 66.5 million liters to 45 million liters. That has implication for saved fund. It means that we are saving money, and of course, if you are saving money, by normal parlance, is money saved is money earned, and money earned is money that can be channeled into more productive development spheres of our economy. So, the important thing here is that we are saving money. We are not allowing people to come and smuggle the resources meant for the Nigerian people. And then talking about refineries. The refineries, we have federal government refineries. In Warri, in Port Harcourt, 2 in Port Harcourt, and 1 in Kaduna. So far, from our own audit performance of those refineries, we believe that in the next 6 weeks maximum, the Port Harcourt first refinery. Don't forget that the 2 refineries, you have 150 and you have 65,000 liters. 1,000 barrels a day. The 65,000 barrels a day will be active maximum in the next 6 weeks. We can announce that. And we know also that a lot of activities are going on to upgrade the 150,000 barrels a day Port Harcourt refineries. The whole idea for me, as we are raising the refinery issue, is that we have been hopeful Nigeria would become the export hub of finished white product in West Africa, if not Africa. That is the reality. We have a private sector-led 650,000 Dangote refinery that is more or less on stream. We are likely to have a 205,000, a 215,000 Port Harcourt refinery that will be up on stream in the next so many months, knowing that the 65,000 barrels will be upstream in the next 6 weeks. And in addition to that, the 150,000 barrels. So, and Kaduna refinery, 100 or so billion, thousand barrels, is also being worked upon, and we are expecting it to also stream within this year 2024. Arise. Removal of subsidy, ironic reversal. Well, my position principally is that life itself is dynamic. The way you look at an issue at this period, going forward, when you have informed position, when you have informed data, statistics and all that, may persuade you to have another look at things. As at 2023, all presidential candidates of all, and I'm not just talking about the leading parties, all the parties, everybody subscribed to the fact that fuel subsidy must go because it was not sustainable. And it was not sustainable because it's not even about those in leadership. It is about the mass of Nigerians. It was getting to a time where even the federal government was getting it difficult to pay salaries, federal government. And the state government, and if that percolates down, some state governments had started not paying salaries. And all because the FAC was reducing every day. The FAC was reducing because NNPC Limited was doing this, they are under recovery. And because they were doing under recovery, there was not much money available to be shared among states of the federation. And that was not just going to affect the workers directly, it was going to affect their children. It was not going to affect their households. So how do we salvage this situation? One, where the regime was not even being managed transparently. So we had to contend with different challenges. As a policy analyst, the objective truth was that at this time, this was no longer sustainable. And the only thing you could do was to remove it and ensure that resources saved are transparently channeled into other developmental sphere. And I think that is what is going on now. And I can beat my chest that the close to 10 trillion capital expenditure allocated to, in the 2024 budget would perform to at least 95%, because now we are sure of fiscal resources, fiscal earnings from whatever our earnings will be. Unlike before, when at the time we could not even do up to 50% of performance. So I believe that we would be, our capital arm of our budget will perform very well this time, again because of the removal of subsidy. Security. I just talked about Pulaku. I talked about Pulaku, insecurity. Yeah, it's not about declaration of emergency. It is about knowing what the deficit, what the gap is. The gap is that in terms of kinetic engagement, we have the capacity. The Nigerian security agencies have been highly reinforced, highly harmed, But despite that, we still have this issue. So what's the question? What's the gap? The gap is that the communities needs to be engaged. There must be the presence of government in those communities. In the ungoverned space, government must be present in the ungoverned space, so that at any point in time, that space is not abandoned to the mass of the people living in those communities. Inflationary trend. And the harmonization of forex. It's as simple as that. But as I said, these are short-term expectations. Once the hardship arising from this are properly managed, we will be able to go back to the minimum. You can be sure that this is the CBN is targeting 21% inflationary rates this year. I also believe it's achievable, and going further than that, the minimum wage and other forms of intervention would be short-term palliative that would provide, that will assuage whatever may be the challenges for Nigerians, as it were.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Yes, praising. Sorry. praising government. praising government. You know, for us, the value of a policy analyst is to look at a policy and review the potentialities of that policy. If the policy is not active, does not have capacity to deliver on what it is proposed to do, then you critique. So what we have done here is to tell you, this is our position. If the policy on withdrawal of subsidy is wrong, we would have said it is wrong. I would have said this is how to go about it. But we believe it is appropriate. We have issues with corruption, for instance, and we thought that in the Nigerian space, what usually happens when there is a scandal around the discovery of somebody who had been involved in the corruption, after a while, everybody forgets it. And we are using this opportunity to say, look, Mr. President, you have done well. You have ordered the investigation of Miss Betta. Please, and other people, please let us have the report of that investigation so that it is not swept under the carpet, as it were. And it should not just be about Betta alone. Every other eye office that is being investigated, Nigerians have a right, to the report eventually when the investigative committees conclude their work.